Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to the channel. Jesus, like more podcasts I do today. I feel like I've never not stopped or I've not left on my computer. But anyway, welcome everybody back to the channel. We are talking AEW this evening. Some news and some stuff from the weekend, and of course, Collision and Rampage. And of course, my fellow host of the show, our AEW Guru, the man that's had more gimmicks than Big Show has turned heel or face, Mr. David Robinson. Good evening. It is now, mate. How are you?
Evening. How many's up for the day then? 4 podcasts today? 3, 4?
Three, man.
Yeah,
Three
3.
today.
Yeah, man.
Three?
Yeah.
Oh, four. Four. This is my fourth. Yeah,
Yeah.
four. Because I done the TNA, spoke to Andy Quilden from Rev Pro, I spoke to Steve Borden Jr. or Steve Borden, and now you. The best one till last.
The hardest working man in podcasts today. Giving Conrad Thompson a run for his money.
Good Comrade Thompson. Well, hard work never stops, Dave. Not on this channel. Cannot make excuses, mate. If you can't find time, you make time. And
Exactly that.
we're doing that right now with AEW. First off, a couple of bits of news, noteworthy news. Anyway, Kevin Kelly sacked apparently from AEW due to comments made by him to Ian Ruckabenny on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Basically, he just wasn't happy. Probably not the right way to go about it, though.
No. I mean, the writing was on the wall for me when Shivani joined the announce team
Yeah.
on Collision. And not only did he join the announce team, he took over play-by-play. Which was obviously Kevin Kelly's job. He was play-by-playing and Nigel McGuinness was colour. So when Tony came in, I kind of thought I don't know. There was I thought something's not quite right there. Something not quite right. He can't be happy with that. But the fact that Tony Khan or AEW have done that means they can't be totally happy with Kevin Kelly. I mean, I thought he was pretty good overall. I really enjoyed his commentary at the start of Collision, but I have read some criticism about him not being up on the product, getting names wrong, and there has been a bit of that, if I'm honest. Not massively noticeable, but yeah, when Shivani came in onto Collision, I thought, yeah, Kevin Kelly's on his way out here. And then for him to explode as he did and had this big spat with somebody that he vouched for in Riccaboni. He was somebody that I think, by all accounts, it's a huge reason why Riccaboni was so heavily involved and highly thought of. He'd got Kevin Kelly's seal of approval, if you like. So for them to fall out, and it wasn't non-wrestling related, I think, what they were kind of arguing about. So to see it all get played out in public like that was a bit strange, but obviously there's not much of a tolerance for that type of stuff, given some of the stuff that's happened in AEW in the past and the stuff that's derailed them. They've acted swiftly, and they've basically said we're not going to be putting up with that. So a shame, but not the end of the world. I think Nigel McGuinness going would have been a much bigger blow for the company than Kevin Kelly. So, but yeah, sad to see.
Weird though, you would think someone with that experience, you just would know, wouldn't you, not to air the dirty laundry, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a strange one because you hear wrestlers and fans and different people kind of laying into social media and Twitter and this, that, and the other, and X, and then kind of behaving like that. It's like not really helping themselves or not really helping the industry when there's that kind of toxicity going on. Just no place for it, really. Just it was just needless. So a strange one, but as I say, I don't think the product certainly this week suffered by not having Kevin Kelly involved with Collision, because I thought it was a pretty solid episode. Very, very different to Dynamite. There is a distinct different feel to the show. We'll get into it and talk about what I liked, but there was a lot to like this week on Collision.
Certainly was. Just before we'll hit Rampage first, but just before we start talking about that, one other piece of notable news, and we were talking about this last week. Harry was kind of intrigued and wanted to know more about the Hardy Boys heel turn, and then it seems as if the heel turn's going to be leaving because, by the sounds of it, Matt Hardy tweeted, or again X, I don't know what you call it these days, basically thanking everybody. The contract's up at the end of the month. Not quite, well, no, looks like no interest at the minute in them renewing. I don't know what that means for, I mean, I don't know if that's Jeff as well as Matt, but it's certainly Matt at the minute. I mean, it just hasn't. I mean, even if, at the moment, even if he does stay, it hasn't worked for either of them, has it?
Not really. No, not really. They both had moments. I thought the way that Matt came into the company a
Mm.
few years ago was quite cool, but there was no fans, so they couldn't really get any momentum for the broken Matt stuff. It was kind of the moment had gone. He'd done the Woken stuff in WWE, and I think under normal circumstances he may have been able to resurrect it with fan interaction, but he was kind of doomed from the start with that. Jeff's had his problems. Whether his contract's going to be extended now because of the time he's been out injured or obviously suspended,
Mm.
there's a chance that the contract run side by side with Jeff's will be extended, but I can't see it. I think they're both probably done with the company. Matt's been quite vocal on his podcast as well, with criticising the company.
Yeah.
And again, it just seems to be that there's no real kind of tolerance, and it's such a stacked roster, not just the tag teams, the singles, the women. If they've got people there that aren't happy and they're not happy in their position in the company, and there's no real desire from the company to elevate those people or to put Matt and Jeff back in a prominent position, then it may well be best for them to part ways. I mean, I think Matt is a kind of a bit of a victim of the distrust they perhaps have for Jeff, given his history of, alcohol abuse and, the suspension that he served. Matt's kind of perhaps been embroiled in that, and it's affected him because prior to that happening, I think Matt and Jeff were tipped to win the tag titles and perhaps have one last run with the belts.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't happen, and they haven't really, particularly Matt. He's been a big part, hasn't he? I mean, Jeff's had quite a few singles matches of late until his injury against Sammy.
Mhm.
So I think I'd be surprised if they're still with the company in in 6 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time when the contract expires. I think they'll be gone.
Yeah, possibly, mate. I've just realised, and I've said to you all day, we were chatting all day, and I said to Dave, oh yeah, we've done Dynamite, blah blah blah, and I just looked at the videos and we haven't.
No, I thought so, mate. I thought
I
we were
think we
kind of
was
pretty
looking
confident.
at doing it and we didn't for whatever reason, work or whatever. So
Yeah,
we haven't done Dynamite. Let's just quickly gloss over that. Look, Will Ospreay, Carl Fletcher absolutely stole the show at Dynamite this week. I'm going to criticize Will Ospreay for one thing, and I think that he sometimes gives too much in these matches. Like we mentioned this against Takeshita. I complain. I sort of had that thing about the moves and the too many kickouts. I just think Will isn't protective enough of his moves and the match itself. I mean, listen, Carl Fletcher. Will, I mean, I think Dave Meltzer's had 3 orgasms over that one. He had about 5 with Okada, with Takeshita. He's had
yeah,
3 over this one with Fletcher. I thought the title was on the line. Though. I thought they announced it was a championship match, but it wasn't.
no,
Maybe I misread that. Um, yeah, look, the match was outstanding. We'll talk about other things happening in Dynamite. We'll get rid of. There was another debut that happened as well, which we'll look at. But Will and Ospreay and Fletcher, great match. But I just want Will to protect the moves a bit more.
yeah. It's not you're not the first person that I've heard criticize that. I was listening to Wrestle Talk, and they said about the hidden blade.
Mm,
But no, I know there's variations of it. Some fans said that it wasn't the hidden blade that he hit, but I
mm,
think it was, wasn't it? And
yeah,
and Fletcher kicked out of it. I thought the match itself was sensational.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't think anything could get close to the Takeshita match, and I perhaps enjoyed the Carl Fletcher match just as much. And I love the
yeah.
story that they told. I love the ending when Kyle kind of just sits up and he knows he's beat, and then Will hits him with the finish.
Mm,
Such a great match, but I think from Osprey's point of view, his whole mission statement was to go into AEW and have as many top 5-star matches, if you like, with as many different competitors as possible. Um, so yeah, I understand the point and the protecting the finishers, just similar to Kenny Omega, has always protected the one-winged angel.
Yeah.
I think the hidden blade should be protected as well from Ospreay, at least the hidden blade. But he's got the Oz Cutter, he's got Storm Breaker, he's got moves that I've never even seen before at times that Ospreay comes out with. I think they've presented him so well. I mean, they've always presented him well. I mean, prior to signing his appearances, I don't think he's lost, has he? I can't recall him
Not in
losing.
AEW. Not in AEW.
No, he beat Kenny, didn't he?
Beat Jericho.
He beat Jericho, he beat Orange.
Mhm.
He's probably been on the losing side in trios, but I'm not sure if he took the pin. I would say Fletcher probably took the pin. So they've always presented him well and as a star, but I think he's coming to the company now, and he's just, this is what they should have done with Jay White, really. I mean, he's right at the very tip top of the card. He looks like an absolute star.
Yeah.
And the match that they're setting up for Dynasty is going to be another 5-star. That is going to
Yeah.
be a really hotly anticipated match, but you just know it's going to deliver. You just know you've got perhaps the best American wrestler, you got the best British wrestler, both of them vying to be the undisputed best wrestler in the world. They can both stake a claim to that. I think it's going to be awesome. I really do. And I loved how they set it up. More so on Collision. Obviously, we saw it Dynamite. Danielson came out at the end, and they kind of um, walked around and it showed the screen in the background. So that was a big tease, but then they confirmed it on Collision. Really, really looking forward to that match, and I'm glad they're doing it. Yeah, I'm really couldn't be happier for Will and the way they're presenting him at the minute.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait for that match itself. The match was confirmed on Collision, as you said. Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay at Dynasty. At new stages on Dynamite this week. The tunnels have come back as well. If you, it was good to see. Another noteworthy part about Dynamite, the Young Bucks, or Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, had two big announcements. One was that Kenny Omega was fired from the Elite, and the other one was that Hangman was suspended, I believe. I think that was the word. Out comes Eddie Kingston. Not quite sure why Eddie come out, but Eddie Kingston was coming out, and then the coins dropped, Dave. And here comes Okada, who debuted properly as again, a bit like Ospreay's been there before, but full debut.
Yeah.
Backing Kingston up, and then hits Kingston with the Rainmaker and joins the Elite, or joins the Young Bucks. Fully fledged heel turn from Okada. Interesting to see where they go from here with him, but a good way of bringing him in, and also a nice little twist with the swerve, no pun intended, at the end, and him joining the Bucks.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I mean, I don't think it was a massive surprise that Okada debuted in AEW.
No.
I think we were expecting it. A lot of people thought that it might happen at Big Business next week, where it's highly likely. Well, we're going to be getting Mercedes Moné, but a lot of people thought that it might have been a double debut in terms of since signing to the company. I really enjoyed this though. I like Okada coming in as the heel.
Yeah.
I like him aligning himself with the Bucks. I think it looks very good as well. I think as a trio, they look quite impressive and quite in tune. Obviously, Bucks will be doing a lot of the talking. I'm not sure how good Okada's English is, so I don't imagine he'll be cutting too many promos. But the Bucks are kind of got that nailed at the minute, haven't they? In their EVP role, and what they've been doing on screen. It also sets up some interesting stuff with Omega moving forward. I mean, I know that we've had a number of Okada Kennedy matches, but never kind of on this stage, I would argue. The biggest stage would be something like All In at Wembley. We talk about Wembley every week, but you could see like in terms of Kenny's recovery from diverticulitis, hopefully he's back by then. And given the fact that he's been kind of kicked out the Elite, that could definitely set up that huge match for Wembley Stadium later on in the year. So really enjoyed this, and I'm glad that we got to see him compete on Collision as well.
Yeah, we did, and we'll get into that in a second. We're going to move on to Rampage. Just quickly on Kenny Omega, the last update for him was pretty much, well, he pretty much kind of said it was a close call recently. He got back in for more emergency surgery. We don't know is the answer. I don't think he knows when he's due back, as you say. Hopefully it'll be before we're all in. But the main thing is that he gets back and healthy as quickly as possible, please, Kenny. I mean, pretty much Dynamite. There wasn't really much else to gloss over. They've obviously announced a tag team tournament that's going to start because they vacated the titles. They've obviously hyped up this week big business. Jay White, Darby Allin. Darby's last match before he tries to climb Mount Everest. Hopefully the stitches are out of his back as well. And just quickly on that before we move on to Collision, Jay White needs to win that and win it convincingly to start if they've got any seriousness of making him a top star in the company.
Yeah, I think so. I think he will as well. I think it will write Derby off. I know that Derby's going to climb Mount Everest, so I don't think people will be major surprised that he's written off TV for a few months. But I hope, as I say, it's all about the way that they do it and the way they present Jay. And they need to kind of really light that fire underneath him. I think the comedy stuff has served a purpose and it's been okay. And it is a congested card, top of the card, as we named on the last podcast, we just keep listing off the names, and the main event scene there is just epic at the minute. But Jay White should definitely not be lost in the sauce. He's too good in the ring and on the microphone. And he should be vying for that AEW World Championship. He should be in a similar position to Swerve and Samoa Joe and, Moxley. And he should be thought of in that same breath and not a trios star. And as we said last week, perhaps Juice being injured has played into it a little bit and he's derailed the plans. But I think they've got an opportunity next week with Dynamite for him to go out there and really make a statement and pick up a big win over Derby, but then push on from there. And I think pushing on from there will be away from the Acclaimed. So I think it's time to start changing things up there because I don't think it's worked as well as we hoped it might have.
Yeah, definitely agree. Get them away, get Jay White pushed to where he should be. I'm pretty much certain he's just filling in because Juice is injured, but it's not doing him any favors whatsoever.
No.
So that's for sure. Moving on to Rampage, tag team heavy. This I think a lot because we're going to be seeing a couple of these teams in the tournament coming forward. Obviously, Orange Cassidy and Trent beat Kip Saban and the Butcher in that. You pretty much knew who was going to win that, but good to see Kip back wrestling.
Yeah, Kip is kind of a very underrated performer. I'm not sure if Blade's injured, and that's why it was that team, or whether Butcher and Blade are going to be in the tag tournament, and they didn't want them to take a loss prior to the tournament starting, perhaps. But we've got some new teams as well. We've got some teams coming over from Ring of Honor that look like they're going to be involved. We got some established teams. We got the likes of Trent and Orange, who are part of Best Friends, but they're not traditionally the tag team. It's Chuck and Trent. Used to seeing as a team. So we got a different iteration there. We expect people like FTR to be in the mix as well. Not sure about Big Bill and Ricky. I'm not 100% sure on their status with the company, or really not sure what's going on there. Strange one. I thought we might have saw one of them or both of them this week on Collision, like in the aftermath to the pay-per-view, but still conspicuous by their absence. So I'm not sure. I've heard nothing about that, but perhaps that's the way that they make their return, and they go back after the tag titles. But we'll see. AEW does a tournament well, whether it's going, whether it's a world title tournament, whether it's the Continental Classic. They usually put out some great matches, some great tournaments, and lead us to some dream matches, whether that's in the semi-finals or in the final. I imagine it will culminate at Dynasty.
Yeah.
I thought the final will be there. Again, it's nice to shine that light on the tag division as well.
Yeah, indeed it is.
Yeah.
Indeed. Just a quick one, side note, it was announced not announced yesterday, but it was rumors yesterday that Shelton Benjamin has been in talks with AEW. I'm getting to a point,
as a performer or as a coach, or
they haven't said. My thing about it is there's going to be, it's a stacked roster already. If they're going to, they've obviously brought in Okada, Monet's coming in, Camille possibly, Ospreay's just signed. They're going to need to do some cutting, really, to
Yeah.
if Shelton's got to come in at some point. They're going to have to start cutting some talent now, aren't
Yeah, I'm not sure because they've got Ring of Honor, I suppose,
they?
as well. I don't really follow Ring of Honor too much. I should watch it a bit more than I do,
Yeah.
but it's just having the time to squeeze that in as well. Sometimes I read the results and I see that like and Angelico apparently he's been doing some good stuff in Ring of Honor, and
And
that's why he featured on Collision and the
Sheeda's
Infinite
on there
Show.
now.
Who, sorry?
Sheeda.
Sheeda, yeah.
He's taking on Athena at Final Battle, whatever it is, the next pay-per-view.
That'll be a great match as well. I think a lot of fans are clamoring for Athena to be on AEW, to be on Dynamite and Collision. I think people have been expecting that for a long time, but there
Yeah.
is some positive, good stuff happening over there. So
Mm.
they need kind of at least two rosters, if not three. Depends how much you divide up Collision and Dynamite. There hasn't been too much of a divide. We've seen like Ospreay and Danielson appeared on both this week.
Yeah.
House of Black, did they come out at the end of Dynamite, or they were on the screen? I think they were in like
I
a
think it was on the
package
screen.
on it, yeah. But then they obviously competed on Collision, so
Yeah.
it's not a brand split as such, but there are certainly guys that we see feature more on one show than the other. Shelton Benjamin, though, I don't really see where as a coach or as in a backstage role. I think that could be quite a shrewd acquisition. But in terms of being an on-screen talent, yeah, not sure there's a space for him really, particularly when so many of the young stars are stepping up and doing so
Yeah.
well. Your Garcias, your Willow Nightingales, who I'm expecting Willow to be involved with Mercedes next week, which is what I think the Willow Rio match is going to set up, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because for those who don't know, Willow, she didn't injure Mercedes as such, did she? But
No.
it was in the match with Willow that Mercedes picked up the injury in New Japan. So I think that might be a way for them to bring her into the company. I'm not sure. I haven't read that. I'm just making that assumption that we've got a Willow match and it's in Boston. Uh, and yeah, tipped to be the place where Mercedes debuts. So, but there's countless young stars that are coming up and they're doing a great job. You got the likes of Commander. There's so many promising stars that we want to see on a weekly basis. I'm not sure if a veteran such as Shelton Benjamin, yeah, I wouldn't automatically slot him in a role anywhere. I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't know where you would see him fit on screen at the minute.
See it.
Yeah.
Don't see it. I don't know where. This is the thing. I mean, the roster is so big. I mean, it's too big now. I mean, and we haven't spoken. There's so many people that we forget when we talk about names, and they're really good, and they're just not getting the chance. Even with 5, 6 hours of television or 7 hours of television a week, we're still not seeing it. Anna Jay's disappeared off the face of the earth again, and
Serena Deeb for me, I was really excited that she's back, but then certain Thunder Rosa,
yeah,
there's so many they come in, and we're glad to have them back, but they don't really go on a run, and we're missing people like Miro and others that we've spoke about at length in the past, which they seem to come in and disappear and come in and disappear, and yeah, you would like to see more of them than bring in veterans such as Shelton. As much as I respect Shelton and he's had a great career, and I'm sure he'd come in and he's capable of having some great matches with the talent there. Um, there's other people that I want to see, and it is some of the younger stars. I know I said Serena Deeb, she's not particularly a younger star, but there are a lot of younger stars that deserve that opportunity, and we should be seeing on a week in, week out basis. So the injuries play a part. I know the travel and the schedule is a lot lighter in AEW, and probably a lot of the wrestlers prefer that. They can have more of a life away from wrestling as well, and with their young families. But I'm sure there's others that are quite frustrated and they would like to be featured more. They're not kind of speaking out on podcasts or tweeting about it, but there's got to be people there that would like to be on Dynamite and Collision a little bit more than they are.
yeah, definitely so, mate. I totally agree. The other thing that's come out today, I think it may have been today or yesterday or last night, Al Snow has come out and said that he guarantees that somebody will die in an AEW ring due to their recklessness.
Um, well, first of all, I hope not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they're highly I mean, some of the bumps are a little bit much at time. We'll talk about Collision shortly and the street fight. There was a bump in that where Mark Briscoe was thrown
Yeah.
clear at the table and landed on some chairs. Uh,
Yeah.
it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. I mean, you had the glass, which I wasn't a huge fan of the glass, to be honest, at Revolution. I think the same result could have been achieved with a table. Um, and we had the burning table spot at the end of Collision as well. All
Yeah.
things for me, you can achieve a similar effect without the risk. And I know they're highly trained, and I know they had people at ringside keeping an eye on things, but there are sometimes risks that they take for the sake of taking it or just trying to shock the audience a bit.
Mm.
And it's like, where does that end? Where do they just keep one up in each other? And I think that's Al Snow's concern.
Yeah.
They keep pushing it and keep pushing it until somebody is seriously injured or just die. I mean, that would be absolutely devastating for.
That's exactly pretty much what he
Yeah,
said. They keep
yeah,
escalating and escalating stuff to try and do it. And he said, basically, what he said, we've now escalated to where we've watched Will Ospreay go up in a vertical suplex with the guy standing on the second rope and drop straight on his head. We've watched Orange Cassidy get dropped bodily on the top rope and could almost be cut in half. How much exponentially as the scale went up? We're going to watch someone die, meaning legitimately they're going to die in front of our eyes during a match. That's the word that he's.
yeah. I mean, we've criticised them. I mean, that spot with Osprey, when we
Mhm.
talked about Revolution, I didn't like that at all either.
No.
I just thought that was needless. And there are certain things, and I get it. I'm massively entertained, and a lot of impressive things, and visually it looks quite impressive at times. Like when
Yeah.
Darby jumps off that ladder and the glass smashes everywhere. It's there is a portion of the audience that are really, really going to enjoy that. And when we were younger, perhaps, or when I was younger, maybe I would have enjoyed that a lot more as a teenager or in my early 20s. But now, as a 37-year-old bloke looking at that, I'm kind of like, a bit squeamish and thinking about, the long-term effects of it. And you wouldn't want anybody like Darby to not be able to walk in their mid
No.
40s or to get seriously injured, to get paralyzed, to break the back, to break the neck, to die, as Al Snow put it. But yeah, I think there's a time and a place for certain things, and maybe when you set a story up and it's a big gimmick match, whether it's a cage match or a hardcore match or a Texas Death match, I think there's times that you're going to expect that they're going to step it up a notch and they're going to hopefully do it safely, but do some things that are quite visually a bit uncomfortable but impressive. I don't think we need to be seeing that week in, week out. So I think the frequency of it is something that I would encourage them to scale back on. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because Tony Khan wants his performers to go out there and put on the best show, and he doesn't want to kind of handcuff them and tell them, you can't do these moves, you can't do those moves, you can't do this, you can't do that. He wants all the matches to look very different, and he trusts his performers. But I do think there is something in what Al Snow said,
Mm.
and hopefully that message can be conveyed in a constructive way and not just having a go at AEW or the company, but to say, look, yeah, let's just rein it in a touch. Let's make sure that we're doing these things in the right place at the right times. And yeah, no, that would be my take on it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of agree with that. But yeah, let's move on to Collision. Obviously Danielson beat Shane Taylor. We want to go into that. Will Ospreay come out. We've booked that match. So actually set. You mentioned the Elite. They took on John Cruz, Liam Gray, and Adrian Alanis in the match that lasted about 3 moves. However, it wasn't the match itself. It was after that. Kingston come to the ring, was looking at revenge. He was getting beat down. Here comes Penta. And then the returning Pac finally comes back, sets up a 6-man next week on Collision. That has got taken my money all over it.
Yeah, there's a lot I really enjoyed on Collision, and I think Pac coming back is the highlight. We saw the video package at Revolution, and because that
Mm.
was only last week, I don't think anybody really suspected that Pac was going to come out.
No.
When you look at it and his affiliation with Penta, maybe we should have expected it. But yeah, I just thought we'd get a few more of those video packages over the next few weeks, before he made his return. But
Mm.
I was so glad to see him. I was so glad to see him. I was so gutted for him that he didn't get to All In last year. Obviously, he's from the UK and that would have been a huge show, and I'm sure he was massively disappointed to miss out on. But to see him back in an AEW ring, and they're going into matches against the Bucks and Okada. I mean, that is quite a way to come back. Picking up on the first match, Shane Taylor, there's times where I've not been 100% sure. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in that
Yeah.
match. I thought he was so good. Obviously, he's working with Danielson, and Danielson doesn't have a bad match.
No.
But I thought Shane Taylor played his part majestically. I thought he was really, really good. The way that he harked back to when Danielson stamped on Moriarty as well, which was a while ago. Yeah, that was like 18 months or so ago. It wasn't recent.
No.
To bring that up and to play that out, to play the story out in the match, I thought he did a great job, and I was really, really impressed by Shane Taylor. So I just wanted to mention that, because I think sometimes he can get, perhaps like he's been on Ring of Honor more, and we saw like them setting up the feud with Keith Lee a bit, and it was a bit stop-start. But I think Shane Taylor would have earned a few more fans after his performance at Collision on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. So it was a great performance itself. Mariah May won her match on Collision. Well, nothing really much against Trish Adora. Nothing really much gone on that one. It was just another DDT on Perazzo to continue that feud with Tony Storm. Match afterwards, though, Nick Wayne versus Adam Priest. No relation to Damien at all. Nick Wayne pretty much wins this. But again, this was more about the aftermath. So Christian and Killswitch are at ringside, as I think Mama Wayne was as well. Christian gets grabbed by a fan in a gold mask, and that gold mask fan turns out to be Adam Copeland, the returning Adam Copeland. They brawl out for a bit. Copeland opens something that says Spike. We didn't see what was in it, but it set up Copeland versus Christian for the TNT championship in an I Quit match. This should be a ton of fun in a couple of weeks when that match is on.
Yeah, I didn't know. Copeland was sat there for a while, hadn't he?
Yeah,
It's been like a conquistador match,
yeah.
which we should have perhaps clocked.
Mm.
I think when he did go over to the fan and the fan stood up, I think everybody knew who it was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. I'm not got no idea what's in that boxer.
No,
I can't even speculate as to what it might be and why Christian is so scared about it. So. Yeah, I think their match in Toronto is that in a couple of weeks' time.
yes, yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I really do think they've done a great job telling that story, and they've had some good matches. Yeah, I'd like to see Copeland move on and have a few more of those dream matches that he wanted to come into AEW to have. I'd love to see Copeland against Ospreay. I mean, Ospreay's name's on the tip of everyone's tongue at the minute. Um, you know, but I think that match is a match that 6, 8 a year ago we would never have expected to see
nope.
Edge, Adam Copeland up against the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay. So to have that possibility, have that potential, and have them signed to the same company under contract, I think that's too good an opportunity to pass by. So whether that's Copeland with the TNT title around his waist and he's taking these matches on or not, I'm hoping that he can move on. I've enjoyed it. I think it's great, but I don't just want him to feud with Christian forever. I do want him to move on and have some other matches, and I think it's time. And he has got a limited time, I suppose, on his career. He said that he's not going to, he's not going to be wrestling in 2 years' time, is he, or 3 years'
No,
time?
it's not like that. Yeah,
he's in his final run now, if you like. So let's not waste any time and get those matches booked, Tony.
definitely. So yeah, get them booked quickly. We'll gloss over this. Chris Jericho beat Titan again. A bit of a nothing match really for Jericho. More again about that was more of the gates of agony hitting the ring at the end, and Hook kind of making a save for Jericho. Jericho done the same for Hook on Dynamite. But after that was a bit more interesting. Tony Schiavone welcomed FTR to the ring. They were talking about how they wanted to be the first 3-time tag champions, and interestingly enough, they were interrupted by the Captain Sean Dean, Bad News Toes, Charlie Bravo. And the end of that was they were going to give AEW a revival at the expense of the former artist formerly known as the Revival. So obviously setting up something for the tag team tournament there that we've been discussing at the moment. And Sean Dean is another one. We haven't seen him. He was like dark and elevation and things like that. Again, and we talk about the roster size, and this is another one that we just haven't seen in so long, and now he's been thrust into seemingly a match with FTR.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be part of the tournament. I
Mm,
actually like this. When they first came out, and it was just, we'd saw a bit, I don't know if it was on Dynamite, but we'd saw a bit of a video package. And I
mm,
think Fushidora is part of this infantry group as well.
yeah.
Again, Ring of Honor, so I haven't seen them in action. I've seen Sean Dean, as you say, on Dark and an Elevation in the past. But this Bravo fellow, he seems quite entertaining, quite funny. They reminded me a bit of the Street Profits as well. They had a bit of banter and, a bit of interaction with the crowd. So yeah, I don't mind them being part of the tournament, but I just think back to other teams that have come in, like oh, remind me of the name, Ad.
Mm.
The team with Jake now, with Jake the Snake and the lad with the dreadlocks and
Oh, the
yeah.
Righteous.
The Righteous, yeah. See, I was hugely into them when they came in, and now I can't even remember the name because they just disappeared. Yeah, they disappeared, and whether they're in Ring of Honor as well, but they got called up to the full or the main roster, if you like, and they had pay-per-view matches, and then they've just dropped off the face of the earth. So I think if they're going to invest that time and put these teams in, they need to do a better job in sustaining them and not just bring them in for short term. Try and establish these teams. Um, but yeah, again, something different and a little bit of emphasis given to the tag team tournament. Just a quick question from me to you on Jericho.
Mm.
What do you do with Jericho in 2024 in AEW? Because I, me personally, I'm not massively enjoying his run at the minute. Um,
Mhm.
he's one of the greatest of all times. He's one of the, you could talk about Rushmore in terms of wrestling, the career he's had, the titles he's won, the place he's been, the reinvention. He's done so much impressive things, but how, I don't know, what would you do with him right now?
I would give him like a Danielson thing. Danielson's doing the dream matches that he wants. Just do that. It look, you're right. I mean, should he have retired before? Probably. Look, he's had a Hall of Fame career. He's definitely been one of the best, but it's another one that's just done for me. And we were saying this 6, 7, 8 months ago. We were saying here and saying like, if he's past it, and then he had that little run again, and
Yeah,
I just think give him a few dream matches, and then that's it.
yeah. I think he's shown that he can go out there on any given night and have
Yeah,
a good match. I think he has proven that. It hasn't always been the case. There's some that I've watched and I haven't really enjoyed, but I don't kind of get excited about a Jericho match at the minute, and I think it's because we haven't had that chance to miss him.
yeah,
So many times in Jericho's career has he kind of gone away for a while, and when
yeah,
he's come back, it's been a huge deal. But I don't know, maybe we take him for granted, and maybe when he retires, we'll kind of like wish that we had him back.
yeah,
But it's just a bit of a puzzle. Obviously, they look like he's going to align with Hook,
yeah.
and I don't know whether that will mean that will be a feud with Hook. Um, whether one of them turns on the other
Mm.
or what. But yeah, I was just thinking about it earlier, like what would I do with Chris Jericho? If I was Tony Khan, I had a wrestling company and Chris Jericho was on my roster, how would I be booking him right now at this stage in his career? And I think, what you say, those dream matches, that yeah, that wouldn't be a bad shape. Maybe a run of next time he loses,
You're done.
he's got to retire. Like I know they did that with Flair, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
That led to Flair's retirement. I'm sure there's other like creative ideas they come up with, but there's just something missing at the minute from
Mm.
Jericho's presentation, and I think they're experimenting with a few things like the Lionheart stuff. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah. If anybody's got any thoughts on that, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know for sure. We'll gloss over this one. The Mystico beat Angelico Serpentico. Yeah, again, very much old school AEW
Original
guy.
Sin Cara, wasn't he, Mystico?
Yes, yes, he was. He's doing well. He's done a couple of good matches in AEW actually.
Yeah.
But we'll get to this match, street fight. So Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett. I mean, that's just I don't even know. I don't even want to know how that happened. But I know it kind of happened on Dynamite a little bit. But you mentioned it. They were against the House of Black. Buddy, Brody, and Malachi. You mentioned that point where they threw him off the top rope, Briscoe. He landed flat on the pile of chairs, missing the table. They had the flaming table spot. They had the spike, I think, as well, or some sort of spike. How the House of Black win this after putting him through the table. It was absolute bonkers, as you can expect. But again, as you say, is it time for AEW to kind of level out this sort of high level of violence? We've seen it at Revolution. There was kind of a need for it. Sting wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, and you can give him that, and you can respect
Yeah.
that, and you can understand that. There was not enough build up for me to even warrant the flaming table in this match. It just felt like, oh, as a table, it would just set it on fire and put him through it. It didn't, for me, there wasn't enough story behind it needing the flaming table.
No, as much as it was Julia Hart singing Ring of Fire on Dynamite, that was so it was kind of premeditated in that sense. But yeah, is that justification to set a table on fire and put Mark Briscoe through it? Probably not. And as I say, I don't know if it needed that. I don't know if we needed a street fight. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah,
It was a fun main event, and it was a typical Jarrett match. It was very overbooked. There was lots going on. You had that bit with Karen as well, and she
yeah,
got
missed
pissed.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I was entertained. I've got to admit, I was entertained. But whether it needed that level of, the fire in particular, I think
yeah,
the table is enough at times. Um, but yeah, I'm glad the House of Black won. I was a little
yeah,
bit concerned that they might have lost this.
yeah,
But I really like now the House of Blacks. I mean, when they were trios champions, they were unstoppable, and we were, blown away by their performances, and we didn't think they'd ever lose the titles. But since they've kind of disappeared, come back at times, and had the occasional matches. I really want them to now establish themselves as the top group, and I would love to see it culminate with a good feud with the BCC. I think that could be some really entertaining great matches going into the summer, singles, tag, and trios matches. And I'd like the House of Black to really assert their dominance in the company. We hear rumors that Malachi is not happy. We hear rumors that Buddy's not happy. Is that part the Does that partly explain the way that they're booked and the fact that we don't see them as much as we would like to see them? I don't know, but from my understanding, particularly Malachi, he's under contract for years yet.
yeah,
2027, I think it
yeah,
expires. I would like to think if there was any issues, they can get resolved and they can get back to doing what they do best, which is putting on some great matches. I'd love to see Malachi involved in the I know it's much later on this year, but the Continental Classic,
yeah.
the tour. I thought, Brody did a great job in there, but I want to see Malachi having those matches. I want to see Buddy having those matches. So yeah, I'm glad they won, and we'll see. That seemed to be like the blow off to the feud. I think, putting Mark through the flaming table, I think that will we won't see him for a few weeks, and it will give House of Black opportunity to move on to something new. And I'm all for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, overall, really fun week of AEW. There was a one other bit. Brian Danielson did finally snap at Nigel McGuinness. That's good. That's going to be
Yeah, yeah.
Wembley. That's going to be all in for sure.
Pink. Yeah, I have kind of pondered that, to be honest, that's what they'll lead to. It seemed Nigel goes in so much on him.
Mm.
You just got to think that there's got to be
A
an
payoff.
end game to it. There's got to be some kind of payoff or some
Yeah,
kind of. And it'll be a fascinating way of how they do it, how they have their first like physical interaction, or what pushes McDinnis over the edge, or what pushes Danielson over the edge. But do you think that could set up a match at Wembley?
definitely, definitely. I think
Yeah.
so. I thought it was going to do Ospreay, but it's going to happen at Dynasty. So I think that's not say a lock of any stretch, but I think that's a safe bet. To be honest, it'll be him and
Yeah. In
and
terms
when
of
it's
Wembley as well, I know we're months away, but we like to wildly speculate on this channel.
we always like to speculate, Dave. That's all we.
Do you think they'll go Osprey pack at Wembley, or do you think they'll go put the title on Osprey at Wembley?
No, I don't think I'll put the title on him. I'm too.
No.
I know it's 5 months away, but I don't know. I mean, he's kind of had his moment though, hasn't he? Like, last year with Jericho was a big thing for him. I don't know. Would I put it? I think there's too many other people that deserve it ahead of him at the moment. I know he delivers those great matches, but the swerves, even Hangman, MJF is coming back. He's going to want the title back. You've got Wardlow this week.
Yeah, would love
Go.
him. Yeah.
I think there's just too many people at the minute. I think give him a dream match of sorts. Give him another big, marquee, but not the title. Well, not the world title yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe
And you've
another,
got
maybe. Yeah.
Okada, you got Ibushi, you got hopefully Kenny to come back.
Hey, listen, they could even get Michael Oku in and then have a rematch from High Stakes.
Mate, that wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I mean, obviously Tony Khan was there scouting it. Oku was like Tony Khan would have been well aware of Michael Oku before that match, but I think people that weren't aware of him so much really stood up and took notice after that. And I fully expect to see Michael Oku in AEW at some point. I think he would be a great fit for the company. I think he's got connections there already. He's been on the Jericho cruise, wasn't he?
Oh, he's got, yeah, he knows. He's definitely got connections there.
Yeah, so wouldn't surprise. What do you think of speaking of connection, people we've spoken to on the show, Zach Knight? I quite like this little interaction, backstage. I like how they're presenting Zach at the minute.
Yeah, I was worried when he first came in. It was a comedy skit,
Yeah,
really, and he was
yeah,
introduced as a serious face. Like it at the minute. Interested to see where it goes. I mean, obviously, he's going to have Angelo Parker probably at some point. I want to see what he does later down the line. It's kind of like it's great that he's there. He's moving up. He went from Ring of Honor. He's now on Rampage, and it's nice that they've kept feuds persistent for Rampage as well. In that sense, want to see what he does when he moves up. But so far, yeah, after
they're making him
Dodge,
look like a real psychopath, which
it's probably about right though.
But there's nobody doing anything like that really
No.
on AEW at the minute. So he's definitely setting himself apart. So yeah, I quite like it's say early days. But yeah, let's hope that not only Zach but Michael Oku can come into the company as well. We got Pac, we got Ospreay, we got Jamie Hayter to come back. The Brits are flying the flag in AEW,
TNA,
and
we've got Leon Slater, Danny
yeah,
Luna, one tag team gold at the weekend. Trent
yeah,
Seven is there as well. WWE, we've still got a plethora of names at the minute that are in there. We'll
yeah,
have
the big
Sheamus,
match from Tyler and Pete as well at
Tyler and Pete,
Nation Chamber.
New Cat Republic. So yeah, they're in it. So plenty of good stuff going on with us Brits over in
Yeah, this has got to be like the most Brits in mainstream American wrestling television.
probably. I'm thinking.
Certainly in my memory, we've always had Brits, going back to when I started watching Regals and Davey Boy and Taylor. What was his name?
Dave Taylor.
Dave Taylor. Yeah, yeah. So there's
Him
always
and
involvement, but there seems a lot of UK stars. Um, not just as I say in AEW, in TNA and in WWE.
yeah, definitely. So do you remember Paul
Tom
Burchill
Paul Birchall, yeah, he did the
in
pipe
NWA?
gimmick, didn't
He
he? He's
was, yeah,
back.
he's in NWA now. Yeah,
He's a
he has been for a while actually. I forgot to mention it on shows that we've done previously. So yeah, he's there. As is Tom Latimer, who's British as well. He used to be Bram.
Bram in TNA, yeah.
Yeah, he's there as well. But yeah, it's been an action-packed show. We've got through a lot of stuff. Big thanks to Andy Quilden for Rev Pro earlier on. Big thanks to also to Steve Borden Jr., the son of Sting. It was amazing to chat to them. JJ Gow last week was a brilliant interview as well. That'll be dropping soon. He talked something interesting about Darby Allin advice that was getting backstage at Rev Pro as well. So when they were there, so that was also good to hear. We've still got a lot more names coming up. We should be interviewing Ken Shamrock this week on Wednesday. That'll drop again. With giving you days when we're interviewing, not the days the interview's going to drop because I've got to work out when's best to put these out. We will be hearing from Mr. Kennedy Anderson at some point as well this week. Devon Dudley still to come. Kelly Six still to come as well. But Dave, I took the limelight from you last week or when we'd done the Revolution thing because it was Sting's last one, so I had to thank him. But you're not getting away 2 shows without serenading us with the goodbye. So please do it.
It's time to bid you all adieu, goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang.
Stay safe, everybody.